welcome to this weekly English news bulletin on Ronahi. Today, 15th of February, marks the 15th anniversary of the abduction of the Kurdish leader Öcalan in an international conspiracy aimed to eliminate the Kurdish movement. But the resistance of the Kurdish leader Öcalan and the Kurdish people during Öcalan's imprisonment defeated the conspiracy. In response to the conspiracy, the Kurdish people in 4 parts of Kurdistan, under the leadership of Öcalan, enhanced their democratic struggle. On 15th of February 1999, the Kurdish leader Öcalan was abducted in Kenya by Turkish special agents acting in connection with CIA and Mossad while en route from the Greek embassy to Nairobi airport. The capture of Turkey's enemy number 1 was claimed by the authorities in Ankara as their victory against the Kurds, who had been waging a mass uprising against the policies of denial and discrimination. A struggle Öcalan had led since 1980s. The abduction of their leader was regarded by the Kurds as the outcome of an international conspiracy involving security services of several nations, including the CIA, MI5 and Mossad. Öcalan's abduction was followed by a short trial, during which Turkish prosecutors sought to portray the Kurdish leader as a terrorist. Instead, Öcalan used his defense to articulate the case for peace and reconciliation between Turks and Kurds based on recognition of their cultural and national differences within a unitary state. For many years, Öcalan was held in solitary confinement in hazardous conditions on İmralı Island off the coast of Istanbul. His health condition is said to be deteriorating because of the harsh environment of the prison. But despite all his personal difficulties, Öcalan has continued to play a central role in Turkish politics and exerts an influence among the Kurdish movement that cannot be ignored. He has advocated a negotiated settlement by putting forward detailed proposals, calling on all sides to take steps to bring about a permanent end to the conflict. He has used his stature among the Kurds to urge repeated unilateral ceasefires on Kurdish guerrillas to give peace a chance, which they have repeatedly adopted in the face of continued aggression by the Turkish military. Insisting that he is a political prisoner, Öcalan and the Kurdish national movement have maintained a consistent stand for a peaceful conclusion to the conflict based on the achievement of justice for the Kurdish people. Through continuous discussions, their proposals have evolved into the current demand for a democratic self-rule inside Turkey. A policy which envisages the granting of local decision-making powers in the regions over social and cultural rights, such as the use of the Kurdish language and mother tongue education. Before his imprisonment and after, the Kurdish leader Öcalan was working for a political peaceful solution to the Kurdish issue. Since 1993, a number of unilateral ceasefires were initiated, and in 1999 and 2009, peace groups were sent to Turkey as a sign of readiness for a peaceful solution. Öcalan has been the driving force behind the shift in the Kurdish freedom movement from military to political and peaceful strategy. Since the first unilateral ceasefire in 1993, he has been working for a political solution. In 1995 and 1998, he initiated 2 more unilateral ceasefires. A major shift came in 1999 when, against great challenges, Öcalan managed to convince his movement to commit itself to a peaceful solution. This marked the beginning of the longest ceasefire in the history of the conflict, which lasted for 5 years. While in a surprising move in 1999, Öcalan suggested that 2 peace groups consisting of PKK members should return to Turkey as a sign of readiness for a peaceful solution. The groups, one consisting of unarmed guerrilla fighters and the others of Kurdish activists from Europe, indeed arrived in Turkey. All members, however, were arrested and served long prison terms. 10 years later, in 2009, Öcalan called for another peace group. Another group of unarmed guerrilla fighters and a group of refugees from the Mahmoud refugee camp crossed the border from Iraq to Turkey. They were welcomed by Kurds who hoped that the war had finally ended. Later, however, many members of the peace groups were arrested and received prison sentences. On the other hand, in prison, Öcalan authored numerous books, some of which have been translated. He wrote in his books for peaceful coexistence of the peoples without changing the political borders. In 2009, Öcalan announced that he was going to write a roadmap and made a call for opinions. This sparked a wide debate inside Turkey. Öcalan completed the roadmap on the 25th anniversary of the beginning of the armed struggle. To mark the 15th anniversary of the abduction of the Kurdistan Workers' Party leader Öcalan in 1999, massive marches, meetings, press statements and demonstrations were organized across Rojava. The people of Rojava held massive marches, meetings, press statements and protest demonstrations. The people of Derik city organized a rally and condemned the 50th anniversary of Öcalan's abduction. Not far from Derik city in Kirkelege town, the youth movements have also organized a rally. The citizens of Terbespie town also protested the abduction of the Kurdish leader Öcalan 15 years ago. Bishlo city witnessed also a protest rally organized by the Kurdish youth movements. On their part, the people of Afrin city took part in a march protesting the abduction of the Kurdish leader Öcalan. In the Kurdish city of Ahmed and the Turkish cities of Istanbul and Adana, Peace and Democracy Party organized protest demonstrations condemning the international conspiracy which resulted in the abduction of the Kurdish leader Öcalan on 15th of February 1999, while the Kurdish federations in Europe organized a mass rally which is taking now place in the French city of Strasbourg. The Peace and Democracy Party organized northern Kurdistan rallies on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the abduction of the Kurdish leader Öcalan. In the city of Ahmed, thousands took part in the demonstration organized by BDP. The people in the Turkish cities of Istanbul and Adana protested in demonstrations the international conspiracy which resulted in the abduction of the Kurdish leader Öcalan. While every year on 15th of February, thousands of Kurds from all over Europe come to the French city of Strasbourg and protest the international conspiracy. At the moment, thousands mainly from Germany, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, Switzerland, Italy and Austria are joining a mass demonstration in the French city of Strasbourg.
A delegation of Peace and Democracy Party and People's Democratic Party visited the Kurdish leader Öcalan at Ronahi Island. Following the visit, the delegation issued a statement and held a press conference at the Turkish parliament, convening the proposal outlined by the Kurdish leader Öcalan in his most recent meeting on February 8th.
The Kurdish leader announced 3 proposals in order to continue the peace process: the implementation of a legal framework for the negotiations, the formation of observatory bodies, and a permanent commission to oversee the negotiations along 8 general headings. On the other hand, the Kurdish leader Öcalan commented on the video published recently. Öcalan said in this regard, the video was produced as a part of a sneaky plan aimed at ending or disgracing the resolution process. The Kurdish leader emphasized that the content of the video was distorted with a compilation of context-free extracted sentences and had nothing to do with the reality. What is aimed here is to prevent the peace and alliance of Turks and Kurds and all other peoples. Those who edited this video, released it and are defending it politically are those who attribute their existence to the Kurdish war and the pro-coup mechanism of this war. My basic approach concerning this issue is present in the most evident way in my statements of self-defense, also showing consistency since the very beginning. Moreover, Öcalan underlined and remarked that as the international conspiracy enters the 16th years, the conspiracy has substantially been shed light on and precautions have been taken against it in many aspects. Öcalan pointed out that by exposing and condemning the international conspiracy, the Imrali process has created an important opportunity for a permanent peace. The Kurdish leader also stated that the government has grown away from the seriousness of the issue on the excuse of elections, noting that the government would be responsible for ending the process unless it underwent a change in its approach toward the resolution process.
Having Ronahi, the spokesperson of the international initiative Freedom for Öcalan and Peace in Kurdistan, who is at the moment at the rally in Strasbourg, will join us now live to update us with the latest. Mrs. Ronahi, thanks for being with us. The organizers of the rally expected a large turnout of today's rally, to which also Western personalities were invited. Tell us more about the rally. Mrs. Ronahi? Mrs. Ronahi, do you hear me? Mrs. Ronahi? Well, it seems Mrs. Ronahi is not ready. Let's go to our... let's go now to the live scenes from Strasbourg. The scenes shown on Ronahi's screen are live from the rally taking now place in the French city of Strasbourg on the occasion of the 15th anniversary of the abduction of the Kurdish leader Öcalan. Graham Williamson, member of the Executive Board of Nations Without States, will join us now live from London to get his views on the abduction of the Kurdish leader Öcalan and on other issues. Thanks for speaking to Ronahi, Mr. Williamson. Today, the 15th of February, marked the 15th anniversary of the abduction of the Kurdish leader Öcalan. What is your take on this day?
Okay, first of all, thank you for welcoming me on the programme. So good afternoon to all your speakers and viewers. I don't know the specifics of any international conspiracy as such, but it stands to reason that there would be, since most states around the world oppose self-determination for fear of encouraging their own captive nations within their own territory. The West, of course, has always taken a strong line against so-called armed struggle by branding all members of such as terrorists. So we shouldn't be surprised that there will be collaboration between the West and various people that oppose self-determination, so they would naturally work together behind the scenes. But that apart, clearly Turkey was driving this abduction, and it was an attempt to decapitate the Kurdish liberation movement. presumably hoping that Kurds would lose heart and desert the struggle. Yet despite that act, I would suggest that the movement has grown and Öcalan has outwitted his captors with his peace initiative. So if it intended to destroy the Kurdish movement, it failed miserably.
Mention that the scenes shown on Ronahi screen are live from Strasbourg, where the rally is taking now place. Let's move on now, Mr. Williamson, to Rojava. Your organization, Nations Without States, issued a statement in support of the announced administrations of Rojava cantons. Tell us more about the reasons behind your support.
Well, Nations Without States is a pressure group, as you mentioned, and it supports the right of all peoples to self-determination. It stands to reason that we would support a nation looking to run its own affairs, such as Rojava. So clearly, that's why we support Rojava.
Countries always emphasize on the need to democratize the nations. Now that the people of Rojava are practicing democracy on the ground amid regional terrorism, why don't we witness any support from these countries, Mr. Williamson?
Well, as I said, because the world fears self-determination, and in the Middle East, of course, Arabs fear democracy, or some Arabs do anyway, leaders, and fundamentalists fear secularism, and have a reason not to support the Kurds, have a reason to suppress the Kurds. And I think this was the reason why Kurds weren't represented at the recent peace negotiation in Geneva too, because obviously they didn't want to recognise that the Kurds exist, recognise that there's a dynamic there which is actually a positive one, because I believe that it's positive because it gives Kurds obviously an identity, gives hopes that Kurds can struggle in Turkey and in Iran, of course, to get some form of autonomy at least. And of course other peoples around the world, other captive nations are looking to Rojava as they looked to South Sudan earlier last year. They're looking to success, and the Kurds in Rojava in Syria are showing this success. And of course, because it's secular, it's democratic, it's decentralist, and other minorities are obviously protected and absorbed in that territory, this is fearful for other Middle East dictators.
Taking place in the East changed the Western stance toward the Kurdish issue. Can this ignorance turn into support?
I think it's possible, but of course, in the West at the moment, although they profess democracy and pluralism, they have other reasons not to support Rojava. For instance, economics, such as trade and oil, is obviously vital to the West. And at the bottom line is, whatever they say, they always put that first. So obviously, Arab countries that supply oil to the West and countries that the West likes to sell arms to, if they don't support the Kurdish struggle, the West sadly won't support it either. I think, however, ultimately, Rojava is a role model for the Middle East, and it is possible that we could see a turn where eventually the West decides that it will support that role model. It won't happen overnight, and of course, we believe that people power in the West needs to be mobilised to get the Western establishment to accept that Rojava long-term is the best solution.
Kurds are the world's largest nation without state. What distinguishes Kurds and their struggle from other nations without states and their struggle?
Well, I think the main reason is success, because Rojava has been created. And of course you have southern Kurdistan as well in the last few years. So clearly, after struggling for many, many years, much longer than many nations have struggled for some form of identity, the Kurds have finally seen some sort of results. And of course, what's happening in Turkey, despite the fact that Turkey hasn't been very honest in the way it's treated the Kurds there, or Öcalan's peace initiative, nevertheless, we can see some movement, we can see some potential. As far as I'm concerned, Rojava is an inspiration for the rest of the world's captive nations, because obviously it succeeded, and the watchword has got to be from Kurds, from the Kurdish struggle, is perseverance, because eventually you will get in the right place at the right time, and you will get an opportunity to exploit those circumstances, and I believe the Kurds are doing that, and we wish them very well, and we will try and support you.
Your organization, Nations Without States, is a pressure group, as you mentioned earlier, sponsored by the National Liberal Party. How can your group be more supportive to the democratic process going on in Rojava?
Well, of course, we can lobby the media here and in the West in general. We can lobby politicians to recognise Rojava as an autonomous region and as a player in any peace negotiations, which are clearly going to take a long time to be settled. We can also try and get direct aid and support for Rojava, because I believe obviously there's problems there, economic problems, and we are trying to develop an economic side to our pressure group, like promoting small businesses, for instance, as a way of employing people in difficult areas. Also, we're looking at thinking outside the box for new initiatives. For instance, there's European elections in May in Europe, and we're going to put up a party list under the title National Liberal Party Self-Determination for All. 8 candidates standing in London, all representing different communities, including Tamil, Kashmiri, Sikh, etc. But also we will have a Kurdish representative, a Dr. Yusuf Anwar, who I actually believe is a Syrian Kurd. So in that way we can bring to the attention of Londoners and possibly a global audience that Kurds are struggling for self-determination, and particularly Rojava. So this will give lots of publicity for the Kurdish struggle and other struggles, of course. And actually, we believe we can be elected. So we'll have a voice for Kurds and everybody else in the European Parliament. So we won't have to be lobbying politicians to give you some crumbs from the table. We will be taking the table because we'll actually be there.
Graham Williamson, member of the Executive Board of Nations Without States, you've been with us from London. Thank you very much for speaking to Ronahi.
Thank you very much, and long live Rojava.
Thank you very much. Jazeera Canton's Foreign Relations Commission has started its regional diplomatic tour aimed at establishing regional relations and gaining support for Rojava revolution and for its democratic self-rule administrations. The Diplomatic Foreign Relations Commission tour, headed by Salah Gado, started in southern Kurdistan.
Salah Gado, the president of Jazeera Canton's Foreign Relations Commission, has announced earlier the beginning of major efforts to open diplomatic channels between Rojava's self-rule administrations and regional and international powers. In this regard, a delegation of Jazeera Canton Foreign Commission is on an official visit to southern Kurdistan. The delegation comprises of the President of Foreign Commission Salah Gado, Assistants Amina Ose and Shamiran Samuel, and Advisors Fadil Misa and Polat Jan. The Commission's visit to southern Kurdistan came after the invitation of some political parties and movements supporting the democratic self-rule administrations of Rojava. Since arrival on 11th of February, the delegation is holding a series of meetings with political parties, civil society organizations and youth movements. Salah Gado, the president of the Jazeera Canton's Foreign Commission, stated earlier that they are aiming to create new conditions and regional and international relations together with a new political perspective. Gado added that in the coming days they will visit some regional countries like Iraq, Iran and Turkey. He also revealed that diplomatic letters have been sent to many European countries.
Following the announcement of the establishment of a new democratic education system in Jazeera Canton of Rojava, the Justice Commission revealed that they will start to construct a new legal system in Jazeera Canton in order to fill the judicial vacuum.
During the Ba'ath era, Kurds in contrast to Arabs have been denied basic social, cultural and political rights. One of the most significant developments of the revolutionary struggle in Rojava has been the start of establishing a new legal system. Since the start of the Syrian Rojava revolution in March 2011, the people of Rojava have taken the first steps, opening people's courts, to whom not only the Kurds but also Arabs and Christians are appealing. Following the announcement of the democratic self-rule administration in Jazeera Canton on 21st of January, the Justice Commission has given officially the responsibility to establish a new legal system in Jazeera Canton. Hakam Khallo, the president of the Justice Commission in the Jizir canton of Rojava, revealed that discussions are taking place to form new constitutional courts and a high election board, which will organize the general election scheduled to be held within 4 months. Hakam Khallo added that 10 committees are formed to formulate the rules with the different commissions of Jizir canton, which will be submitted and approved by the Justice Assembly, adding that due to the judicial vacuum in Jizir canton, they will intensify their efforts to accomplish their works as soon as possible. According to Khallo, since March 2011, experiences have been gained and a solid foundation has been formed for today's self-rule administrations. The Jizir canton is one of the 3 cantons of Rojava and officially declared self-rule administration on January 21st. The canton recognizes 3 official languages and is governed by a president, 2 vice presidents, 22 commissions and a 101-person assembly.
At the end of this bulletin, let's move on to the press review.
The Germany's Der Spiegel magazine reported that German security services have evidence that Turkish intelligence agents were behind the killing of the 3 female activists of Kurdistan Workers' Party PKK in Paris more than a year ago. According to the news magazine, several documents and sound recordings analyzed by German security implicate Turkish intelligence service MIT. Der Spiegel said that one document surfaced in January on the internet in which one of the 3 activists was identified, and this alerted the German authorities. Ceasefire magazine published a special report of the women's rights advocate Margaret Owen, who traveled to Rojava. Owen's reports on her experiences in the conflict